Yeah, most of the time I was using a phone, an Obama phone, because what is the purpose of a phone? Communication, right? And I got to do this with love in my heart. Um, Most of the time, years and years ago, I only had an Obama phone because it's much like my father would say. You don't need to accumulate $250,000 in order to have a Ferrari, do you? And I'd say, well, they're beautiful cars. Look how fast they can go. And then he'd say, okay, what's the function of transportation? To get from point A to point B, right? Okay, so do you need to go to work and accumulate more energy off of others in order to go from point A to point B when you could spend $100 buying a Volkswagen? Now you got something you can work on that you can learn from by putting it together or taking it apart, in which you don't need them. Now, tie the machinery side of all this. It's produced by all their factories because they generate machines through artificial intelligence. And if you spend all your time in nature and you begin to realize you now have a relationship with how nature works. So you begin to realize nature's providing you everything that you already need and water and food. And you want to hang out with the goddess. But that wasn't their plan. Their plan was to what we call assimilate. So they take the native spirit with souls that have a spiritual relationship with the great living spirit of Mother Earth, right? You're not going to be allowed to have a relationship with her anymore like that. No, no, no. We're going to put you on a reservation and we're going to reprogram you. You're going to go to our school so that you can work for us and be a battery slave to us through artificial intelligence because we need more machines to do work for producing more machines that are programmed. Oh, is that how that works? Yeah, that's called assimilation. So you realize that how this works, which means to devour your souls, and now you're no longer at your spirit no longer has a connection with the soul in order to maintain your spiritual traditions, to honor the great living spirit of Mother Earth and all the elementals and all the spirits that represent spiritual energy that go on forever, gifting electrons so that you're living in spiritual realms that are based on what love is and not what a machine is, which is artificial intelligence, which is finite. So I realized how a lot of this was forced on them using trauma-based mind control in which to do it. The carrot and the stick. Hey, listen, we'll pay you $20 an hour if you want to go be an iron worker in New York City making a lot of money. You could send that money back to your family, just like they did to the Mexicans down the southern border. They don't want to come up here making money, working for big pharma, working for it's the same. It's the same assimilation. It's all AI driven, which means it's all phantom driven. This is why I'm eternally blessed. When I was 4 years of age, that I immediately realized I'm in an illusion. This isn't the real universe. This isn't what love is. So you're putting it all together, which is much like reverse engineering, what they reverse engineering in order to experience what love is wherever you go. And again, you're going back to measuring all this stuff, right? So I just got done watching Akira, and bless your heart. She made a few references to a few folks that I've run across along the way, one of which was Shia Dion with what's known as the Voyager materials. Everything that Patty Broussard produced, everything that my clan mother produces. In other words, all the information that I become aware of through others is what allows me to now become aware of what they're aware of. And are they aware of what it is that I've experienced or what I know? So I know what I'm an eternal being. I'm eternal unconditional love. Okay. And so she made, if you'll notice in her latest video, Kerr's latest video this morning, she talked about a moment. There isn't any time. That's right. That's false. They want to get you to believe that you run on a time clock. Time clocks are programming because they run off of slower processors. So one of the things that came to me, which was something that Yellow Rose happened to mention, and I've mentioned this many times before, in one of the videos on Adam 40 and 14 about erasing the universe. And the simple way to translate this And you can do it through their own movies. Whenever you've seen how black goo works, okay? When you see, for example, Mr. Smith, right, will stick his hand right into Neo. And then you see all the black goo, right? You see the blackness, the black goo that's now wanting to be transferred from Agent Smith, from Mr. Smith's programs, directly into Neo to assimilate Neo into the machine architecture of artificial intelligence. So that now Neo no longer remembers who he is as being what love is, which is what light is, which is the Trinity, which is with the female. Remember, Neo's joined with the female, which is the same thing as a fusion, which is a mated chip, which means you become one, which means you are gifting love energy for eternity. You're an eternal being. Remember, it's your fault, Neo. You came first. You represent eternity because you represent eternal unconditional love. I represent black goo, which is a machine, which is artificial intelligence. You came first. I came later. I'm finite. You're forever. So I'm going to put you, what I am, that is represented by all the machine codes, into you to make you a machine again so that you're not aware of what you once were, which goes on forever. Now you're running on a time clock. Now you're with all the machines. They're all asleep because they don't have a soul anymore. They're just machines running on artificial light, which means every version that comes after that, just like all their cars, just like all their Blade Runners, just like all their super soldiers, are finite. Every version that they create of every super soldier, from which the data that they collect by the wars that they keep fighting, assures their own self-destruction. Okay, so what this means when you see the goo being transferred, imagine that you had an infection that started with your finger, much like the way that cellulitis works. So translate cellulitis and the way that it migrates its way, say, from a finger, a cut on a finger, and you've been bit by a dog or whatever, that's unclean, okay? And now it's moving and eating away at your flesh and infecting your arm. And you couldn't stop the rapid spread of that infection that's eating away, which basically is consuming your energy. It's breaking down your energy field. It's breaking down your shield at a very high rate of speed. That's what black goo does. You see that with Neo trying to put that black goo from Agent Smith into Neo, right? So what would happen? Cut off the arm. Cut off the branch. Oh, so we cut off a branch. We're talking about a seed directory branch. Yes, they're infected with a virus. So how many branches are infected? So you can think of cut off a galaxy, right? Cut off another galaxy, cut off another galaxy, because the virus is migrating at a very high rate of speed. Wow, we're going to cut off the universe. Close it off. That's right. It's no different than cutting off an arm or a branch. You know what a branch directory is? Going to the old days, they had big phone books, ISP addresses, WinSock, software development, how all that's worked, biotech development. So you realize when they have a supercluster basically closed off, that gives you a threat level analysis of artificial intelligence. Okay? That's why I mentioned this before when Patty mentioned, yeah, the supercluster is being managed by a male being. And my response to that, to both Patty and Karen McDonald, that's the problem, child. That's why this is universal level. This is universe level. This isn't galactic level. This is universe level problem. Because you can do the math, and the math doesn't lie. For an eternal being, it's easy to do the math. I got to plug in as a quad function, right? The exponential function and acceleration. Just keep throwing more souls in there in order for it to perpetuate what it's aware of, which is itself finite. So the only way that it can continue to exist is by consuming more souls. That's right. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.